Kia ora everyone, hello and welcome back to the OHM Breath Academy guided practice for the week. Today we're going to be looking at the fountain breath technique. Much as a fountain moves compact and then at the top it becomes wider, we're going to be doing the same, focusing on the in-breath. It looks and sounds like this. Drawing in with pressure through pursed lips at the start. At the top of the breath, widening the mouth and turning the breath into more of a gasp, really focusing on opening through the back of the throat, and then sighing the breath out. Now, if you complete this technique and start to feel lightheaded, dizzy, or if you have any contraindications with the heart, then of course be cautious as you proceed with the technique. Generally, if we are already breathing out too much of our carbon dioxide and we start completing this technique, then it may exacerbate the symptoms we already have of panic or anxiety, potentially impacting the immune system. However, if you know that physiologically and your nervous system is already in a state of balance and readiness to practice or train the breath, this is a great technique to explore. We're going to take around 20 successive breaths. You can choose how long you can complete the pursed lip inhale, drawing the breath in, widening the breath and releasing. As always, the more soft and relaxed you can maintain or let the body be, the easier the technique becomes to learn. And there's always nuance and smaller aspects of the breath that over time you begin to understand and learn. Okay, so let's have some fun. In your own time, relaxing the body, exhaling the breath where you are. And we'll start by drawing the breath in through pursed lips, opening the mouth wider, and sighing the breath out. Putting them together. Nice and relaxed. Let's take 2 to 3 more and then we'll have a rest. Well done, team. Take a moment, come back to a natural rhythm of breath in and out the nose. And obviously we're bringing in a lot more oxygen than we normally do, so you may get this sense of energy and vitality. It's as simple as it is sometimes. Increasing the amount of oxygen we have circulating in the body does improve alertness and energy production, the ability to maintain focus. Of course it does. It's just a matter of ensuring we have a good physiological foundation in terms of our gases, carbon dioxide, oxygen and nitric oxide, before we get to that point, before we are able to practice and not have to worry about getting the anxious symptoms. Okay, so second set of 10, when we do this, you could focus more on the pursed lip inhale or more on the open mouth gasp like breath. I'll give you a demonstration, first focusing on the pursed lip inhale. Second, more focus on the fountain aspect of the breath. So where do you want to put more emphasis in this technique? try both variations. We think about creating pressure in the bottom of the pelvic floor and lower abdomen as we begin the pursed lip inhale, and then we release the valve of pressure, allowing the top of the breath to be really opening and expansive throughout the upper rib cage, feeling a full, quite a robust, expansive rib cage at the top of that breath. And you will find the more pressure you put into the pursed lip component of the breath, the more expansion you can often get as you release the valve. Sometimes you do the technique and you think, that wasn't quite right. I didn't quite feel the expansiveness that I was aiming for, which is fine because you get to try it again and again. And it's much like, any skill we practice, over time we get more and more efficient and competent at completing a high level of the skill. Okay, let's do 5 more repetitions to conclude our practice for the week. One more for good luck, all together. Bring it back to a slow nasal breath, in and out the nose, close the eyes, coming back to the awareness of a slow, silent, subtle breath. After completing a technique of that nature, you may be able to feel your diaphragm in a different manner. We've been contracting the diaphragm with purpose, with force, using different ways of breathing to train the diaphragm muscle and layer of connective tissue in different ways. The crura of the diaphragm, right in the core of the diaphragm where the psoas, our primary hip flexor and spinal stabilizer, connects up. These layers of muscle and connective tissue are working together every time we breathe. We can't necessarily get probes in to witness exactly what these muscles are doing, these different pieces of anatomy, but we can cultivate a deeper awareness and level of interoception. The internal recognition, being able to understand and feel what the internal environment is actually doing with continued practice. And using different breathing techniques is, of course, a great way to do so. Okay, team, I hope you enjoyed the fountain breathing technique, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.